Dear Venerable Brothers, Dhamma friends, we have come to the last Dhamma sermon of this 345th retreat. May you give your consent by saying Sadhu Sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yattatitang manyusava nappavatanti manyusave khopana appavattmane munisantoti vucchati iti. Dear Venerable Brothers, Dhamma friends, so we already discussed about overthinking and different types of thoughts and reasons for thinking, and again various samatha and vipassana techniques which are helpful to calm down thinking, to keep the mind in the present moment, free from thinking. Actually, to some extent we have some understanding about these techniques, and we'll see today what is the result if we are able to achieve it, basically. Yesterday also, to some extent we have touched that, but we can further explore that area. So what would be the in a way, the benefits if we are able to maintain such a mind? That's a very interesting topic. Venerable Sariputta explaining to others, so how to have a good death. So sometimes people are concerned about their death, how to have a good death. So there one side that he emphasized is this freedom of overthinking. So if one's mind is continuously thinking and more into the overthinking, more into the rumination, proliferation, then he say his death won't be a good death. Basically, there's a higher chance, higher possibility one might fall into a hell realm, one might fall into a unfortunate situation. But on the other hand, if one is able to maintain the mind free from overthinking, free from proliferation, so he confirms, okay, that is one reason to have a good death. Baddhaka marana, in the Baddhaka Sutta. So he therefore, in a way, asks us to have a more determined mind, kind of a determination to maintain the mind free from overthinking. Na papancharamo hoti na papancharato na papancharamatang aniyutto. So if one is able to have an attitude, I am trying my best to maintain my mind free from proliferation. And for that I have an inclination, for that I have kind of a special attention. Na papancharamo hoti. So he doesn't want to involve with proliferation, instead he wants to keep the mind free from proliferation. Na papancharato na papancharamatang aniyutto. And he is not involving with proliferation. So at the beginning we don't have this capacity. We prefer proliferation, that is very much like our habitual tendency, very much like a kind of an addiction. But later, as a result of practice, slowly we are able to calm down the mind. Even while walking, even while sitting, maybe with anapanasati, okay, mind has relaxed, calmed down, maybe even concentrated. Now, almost like no inner chatter. So now we experience some sort of a silence. Not yet with vipassana, but still with some samatha approach, but still some kind of a good experience. Say for the first time when one experiences complete absence of thinking, so it is something kind of an eye-opening, kind of an aha moment. So anyway, so experiencing a mind free from thinking is not something difficult if we are able to practice mindfulness. Because as we discussed in a couple of past days, so there are various mindfulness practices help us to take our mind back to the present moment, not encouraging thinking with respect to the past or future, but paying attention to the present moment. So this kind of an exercise slowly help us to tame the mind and relax any kind of a proliferation So that we are developing the body awareness and later maybe the self-awareness. So helpful for us to establish mindfulness and some sort of a process, and as a result of that we are able to calm down the mind, relax the mind, stop inner chatter. And if we continue in that line, maybe if we practice vipassana, that is where giving more support through the wisdom, there the mind become more and more detached from sensual phenomena, bodily phenomena, even feelings, thoughts, perceptions, and now one may even able to achieve sort of a state where mind does not associate anything at all, does not grasp anything at all, and mind find its own freedom. This is a kind of a freed mind, kind of a calm mind, relaxed mind, and there is no grasping at all. And on top of that, there is no much sense of I. A fairly weakened ego is there. So there also another state, through vipassana one may achieve complete calmness of the mind, stillness of the mind. Still may be temporary because fair amount of defilements are still, say, hidden, but once they become active, again we might lose this state. But anyway, this is also a very fair achievement in our path. So time to time you are able to succeed and achieve this state. Again and again through your vipassana, again you come to a peaceful state. Again come to the peaceful state. Overcoming various defilements, overcoming various attachments, proliferations, graspings, but a very relaxed, calm, still mind. Now, here, when one achieves it, now there's a kind of a change in oneself can happen. Okay, let me have that for a long time. So instead of going back to the proliferation, instead of going back to the overthinking, obsessive thinking, which is difficult, which is harmful, which is a burden, I feel stressed now when the mind does that. So can I keep the mind free from this kind of overthinking? So you may start tasting it. Once you experience the freedom from proliferation, so mind starts recognizing it. Currently you might not have it, but still once you one day experience it, you may feel, yeah, there is something. There is fair peace there. Complete calmness, complete tranquility. And mind doesn't have any friction. No burning. No inner chatter. So I am experiencing it. I can even enjoy it. So likewise, kind of an attitude change happens in oneself. So that is where Venerable Sariputta further emphasize. Na papancharamo hoti na papancharato na papancharamatang aniyutto. Previously we had the tendency to get involved with proliferation as a habit, as an addiction. But now we have a tendency to, okay, I need to overcome that bad habit. I want to keep the mind silent, calm, relaxed, free from overthinking. So this is a kind of attitude that he is asking us to develop. And he further prays for such kind of a practice like this. Yochapa panchang hitvana nippapancha pade rato. Aradayeso nibbanang yogakkemang anuttaram. So there's a beautiful verse in this Baddhaka Sutta when Sariputta mentioned, so if one is able to abandon overthinking, proliferation, instead nippapancha pade rato, he prefers now non-proliferation. He prefers stillness of the mind. Aradayeso nibbanang yogakkemang anuttaram. So the nibbana, which is the freedom from all the yokes of this samsara, now he is very much like inviting that state into his mind. So you are getting closer to the nibbana, inviting that state of nibbana to our mind if we are practicing in this line. Actually, same thing Buddha highlights in the Madhupindika Sutta. So we understood through Madhupindika Sutta how proliferation happens. On the other hand, in the same Madhupindika Sutta, Buddha highlights, so what would be the result if we are able to avoid proliferation? So there's a long statement. Let me mention that for the completeness. Yato nidanam bhikkhu purisang papancha sanya sankha samudacharanti ettache natti abhinandi tabbang abhivadi tabbang ajjose tabbang esevanto raganusayanang esevanto patigahanusayanang esevanto ditti anusayanang esevanto vichikiච්ඡානුසයානං esevanto මානානුසයානං esevanto භවරාගානුසයානං esevanto අවිජ්ජානුසයානං esevanto දණ්ඩාදාන සත්තාදාන කලහ විග්ඝහ විවාද තුවන් තුවන් පේසුඤ්ඤ මුසාවාදානං එත්තේතේ පාපක අකුසල ධම්මා අපරිසේසා නිරුද්ධಂತಿ. So this is a long statement, a kind of a confirmation coming from the Buddha, telling there may be reasons for one to proliferate, but now one has the capacity to avoid that. Say someone who hasn't practiced, there are reasons for him to proliferate. He may see something, he may hear something, smell, taste, touch, ideas. He tends to proliferate. Why? Because he does the abhinanditabang. He is delighted with what's happening. He is actually welcoming what is happening. And again he adhere to what is happening. So what happens is then he get into the proliferation. He become overwhelmed by proliferation. He being victimized to proliferation. That is the, say, uninstructed worldling who hasn't have enough practice. But now Buddha says the opposite. If one is able to avoid na abhinanditabbang, na abhivaditabbang, na ajjosetabbang, now he is not into the delight of such things. He is not into welcoming into that. And na ajjosetabbang. So natti ajjosetabbang. No any adherence, no any grasping. He may see things but no grasping. He may hear things, no grasping. Not being delighted of what he has seen. Not being delighted of what he has heard. Similarly, not welcoming what has happened. So what something has happened, it has gone, but one takes care of mind in the calmness, unattached state. And so what's the result? Esevanto raganusayanam. So that is the weakening of the underlying tendency to lust. Esevanto patigahanusayanam. This is how you are ending the underlying tendency to ill will. Esevanto dittyanusayanam. This is the way that you are ending the latent tendency of wrong views. Esevanto vichikiච්ඡානුසයානං. This is the way that you are ending all different doubts, perplexities. Esevanto mānānusayanam. This is the way that you are ending all different kinds of conceit. Then he keep on mentioning bhavaraga with respect to the existence, kind of a desire to continuous existence. Avijja, the tendency towards the ignorance. And then further, danda adana sattha adana kalaha viggaha vivada tuvan tuvan pesunya. So these are the further consequences in case that if we follow, then we might get into arguments, we might get into debates, we might get into quarrels, taking of different weapons, and even lying and gossiping and say into the divisive speech, all that. Ettete papaka akusala dhamma aparisesa niruddhanti. So if you are not into proliferation, if you can keep your mind calm, relaxed, free from proliferation, so all these unwholesome tendencies in the mind aparisesa niruddhanti, going to extinguish, completely fade away without a remainder. So you can see non-proliferation is one important aspect of the practice. So when we are into the vipassana path, so this is one important aspect that we need to recognize. So even though we may be practicing several years, still if we simply allow the mind to proliferate, so then we didn't understand this point. So even though we are, we practice hard and understood the state of non-grasping, and suppose that you are not have the chance to often practice sitting and walking, but still you have a tendency to keep the mind quiet as much as possible, free from proliferation, free from overthinking. So that becomes a strong practice actually. Even though you are not often sitting or walking or that thing, but still if you are concerned about how the mind is reacting, now I am careful of not allowing it to get into overthinking, worrying, rumination, obsessive thinking, but I am taking care of that, avoiding that. So that basically helps me to continue the practice in a way, to progress in my practice. May not be simply by sitting, not by involving with walking, but I am taking care of the mind, not allowing it to proliferate, not allowing it to overthink, not getting into obsessive thinking, not allowing into worrying and rumination and all that. So I am taking care of my mind not to get involved that. So that becomes a very, very strong reason for us to progress. So that's why Nippapancha is a synonym for Nibbana. So there are various synonyms that Buddha mentioned about the Nibbana. So Nippapancha is a synonym for Nibbana. So if we are promoting non-proliferative mind, if we are promoting fairly silent mind, calm mind, relaxed mind, so that is very much we are promoting a kind of a Nibbanic state in our mind. But that doesn't mean that you are not talking at all, not thinking at all. As we discussed with respect to the Vitakka Santana Sutta, so as we progress, we have to sort of understand, okay, this thinking is kind of a skill we have, and we should use it effectively. We should use it carefully, and very much under our supervision. So when it is necessary, you are able to think, no problem, because there is a purpose. But when it is not necessary, you are able to keep it calm, no thinking. And then Buddha say, what is the result? Acchijji tanhang, vavattai sanyojanang, samma mana bisamaya, antamakasi dukkassa. That is how he explained in the Vitakka Santana Sutta. Then you become kind of a master in thinking. When it is necessary, you can think. When it is not necessary, you don't want to think. Keep the mind quiet. And you are able to cut off the craving, because if there are craving related thinking going on, you are able to stop it. No need it. Acchijjitanhang. So you are cutting off craving. Vavattai sangyojanang. So all the fetters now you are abandoning. Samma mana bisamaya. Different aspects of conceit now you are able to understand in their full context and overcome. Antamakasi dukkassa. And you are able to end the suffering. Now all that basically emphasize the non-proliferation. So probably you can remember one incident happened with Venerable Anuruddha. So he was not yet an Arahant, and he was ardently practicing, and there were few thoughts came to his mind, thinking that the certain qualities of the Dhamma. So this Dhamma is for one who is with less wishes, few wishes. This Dhamma is for one who has less desires. This Dhamma is for one who is mindful. This Dhamma is for one who is effortful. This Dhamma is for one who is wise. So likewise, series of thoughts came to his mind, and he was thinking about them. All are really valid thoughts. And then Buddha saw he was thinking in that line. So then Buddha came in front of him, and then he asked, okay, Venerable Anuruddha, you put the 8th one and now start thinking. So 8th one is this. Nippapancha ramasayang dhammo nippapancha ratino, nayan dhammo papancha ramassa papancha ratino. So this Dhamma is for one who is preferring non-proliferation. Nippapancha ratino, he is inclined towards non-proliferation. Nayan dhammo papancha ramassa papancha ratino. So this Dhamma is not for a person who prefers proliferation, prefers overthinking, and who delight in overthinking. So this is a Dhamma. So the Buddha's teaching is for someone who prefers non-proliferation. So this is the 8th aspect that Buddha asked Venerable Anuruddha to put as the 8th type of thinking. So when he think like that, what happened? He can't think, because the eighth aspect, the Nippapancha, the Buddha's advice, the eighth aspect talks about Nippapancha. So even with the Dhamma, now he can't think because this promotes calming down, relaxing, non-proliferation. So that's why we, even with the first day, we discussed, so different categories of thoughts are there. So we all understand the unwholesome kind of thoughts. So we all can understand that and we can abandon that maybe. And maybe the wholesome thoughts may be useful to some extent, and once we have their purpose done, then we need to calm them down. And there may be some subtle thoughts like about our health, about our country, about our families, about our relatives, friends, and about the, say, gain, fame, about our reputation. So these are certainly subtle thoughts. So Buddha asks us to even calm them down, abandon them. So then only you may arrive fairly a relaxed mind. But now there may be Dhamma Vitakka. There may be thoughts with respect to Dhamma. So that is what Venerable Anuruddha was experiencing. Now there Buddha adds the eighth one. So when eighth one is present, he can't even do that. Because eighth one promotes Nippapancha. Eighth one promotes non-proliferation, relaxing of the mind, calming down of the mind. So therefore we can understand, so this Nippapancha is one area that we need to emphasize, have some attention as much as possible. And now one promotes a mind free from Prapancha. Now this is further actually highlighted in the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta in a very beautiful way. So Buddha asks us to develop kind of a four foundation, a kind of a four determination. Panyang nappa majjaya, saccamanu rakkheya, chagamanu bruheya, santimevaso sikkheya. So these are the Chaturaditthano ayam bhikkhu puriso. So he mentioned this very much like a yogi, a practitioner, is based upon these four foundations, based upon these, say, four determinations, stands. Panyang nappa majjaya. One, so this person should not neglect the development of wisdom. So he need to first develop the wisdom. So here emphasis is to that yathabhuta jnana dassana. So knowing things as they truly are. So you first actually you can't immediately have that. So that's why we need a fair amount of mindfulness, fair amount of focused attention, concentration, then well balanced effort. Then only you can see things as they truly are, as your direct experience. And it takes time actually to achieve it. So that's why properly conducting vipassana or properly getting involved with vipassana may take some time, not immediately possible. Because you need to keep your attention precisely onto present moment phenomena. So those phenomena are very subtle and those are also not attractive. I mean, we can easily watch a cricket match, we can easily watch a movie, and we don't know even, we might even spend hours, but we don't feel even tired. But when you are trying to keep your attention onto, say, hardness, softness, roughness, smoothness, you fall asleep. Not interesting. So you need fair amount of faith to continue it. You need fair amount of effort to continue it. Even though mind says, no, I can't do it. No, any energy available. Still you need to wake up again and again, motivate yourself. Again and again, faith is required for you to get back to the practice. So this is a kind of a energetic task that we need. And assume that as a result of your, say, such a strenuous practice, say one day you understand, okay, now mind understood the technique. It's a kind of a technique in a way. Fair amount of mindfulness is there. Now mind does not go to the past and the future. Past is gone, future hasn't come. So now present moment phenomena, so the person can look at. Paccuppananchayo dhamman tatta tatta vipassati. So whatever the present moment phenomena, exactly you are keeping your attention there and you are doing the investigation. You are keeping your attention there, you do the investigation. Keeping your attention there, you do the investigation. So this is a kind of a process that we are doing to develop wisdom. So panyang nappamajjaya. So Buddha says, so don't neglect this path. Don't neglect this task. So you may need some time to do that. So do it as quickly as possible because it may take time to develop the wisdom. So that very much like the first stage. And once you do it properly, as we discussed yesterday, say through Satipatthana you are doing it. So you may arrive a stage where mind is capable of keeping it free. Keeping it free from any attachment. Keeping it free from any kind of a grasping. Not associating anything at all. Now, as a result of this practice, now you are arriving that state. So the practice helps us to recognize that. So we might have heard about it but never tasted it, never experienced it. But the practice, what we just said, is helpful for us to arrive that. Now this temporary state appear like very calm, relaxed, but appear like boring as we discussed yesterday, but you promote it. So that part Buddha highlights here, Saccang Anurakheya. Now you need to preserve that experience. So it is easily slipping off from the mind because it's not interesting. It doesn't promote any self-view. It doesn't promote any ego. So therefore you can't have your own type of motivation to be there. So you might need someone's guidance, Buddha's teaching, Buddha's encouragement. So then only we can say, okay, I am trying my best to stay there, say 1 minute, next day 2 minutes, next day 5 minutes, next day 10 minutes. So likewise, I am promoting that calmness of the mind, relaxation of the mind, non-grasping of the mind, freedom of the mind. And while there, I have nothing to do. So you arrive there and you have to just be. So we are learning how just be, to be a human being. So we are learning. So not promoting doing, but promoting being. So we are switching our mode from doing to being. So now we are very much like trying to be familiar with that. So not allowing that state from the mind to slip off. So Saccang Anurakheya. So this is the kind of a temporary Nibbana we have achieved. So not yet the full-fledged Nibbana, maybe yet to come. But this is for the time being, this is the Nibbana I have. So that's why it is sometimes called Tadanga Nibbutthi. So we have developed some wisdom, we have developed some vipassana, certain amount of wisdom is there, till the power of wisdom is available. So I am capable of keeping the mind free from any kind of a worry, agitation, anything. Mind is very peaceful. No attachments at all, no burning at all. So fairly peaceful. Now I am capable of arriving that again and again as a result of the practice. And so Buddha asks us to maintain that state, protect that state, well register in that state, and as much as possible make it like the norm of the mind, make it like the home of the mind. And while there, then what are we going to do? Chagamanu bruheya. Now Buddha say in this Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta, so while we were ignorant, we were preparing a self, we were making a self, we were promoting a self, and I want to highlight myself, I want to be the first, and I have gathered so much of resources to kind of highlight myself, to be a very important person. So a lot of things I have gathered. So this is how we were living, and this is what the society is asking us. This is how our parents, our teachers and all are asking us to have a motivation to become the best, to win the race and get the victory. So we were doing that. Now once we arrive through Vipassana, where a non-grasping state is available, now we need to develop what is the opposite. So in a way, So this is not promoted even at the early stage of our practice. Now if you say this to a person who has just trying to get into the Buddhist path, and if we ask him to, okay, Buddhist path is talking about non-self, so you need to abandon yourself, so he become completely confused. So therefore these teachings are not meant for the beginners in a way. So we should not in a way confuse about the teachings. So basically that's why Buddha mentioned Sammaditthi as twofold. So the first type of Sammaditthi is actually mundane and it has a purpose. Suppose that there's a person who is completely ignorant about the wholesomeness and the unwholesomeness. So he is continuing with various unwholesome activities, killing animals, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and all that he is doing. Now, first of all, he has to be somewhat virtuous. First of all, he needs to come to the path, be responsible of what he is doing, and have some kind of a clue about karma. So that's why Buddha emphasized of the Sammaditthi in that mundane sense. So we need to tell him, you should be a good person. And a personality is being somewhat highlighted from a different angle, by the way. He want to be a person not by killing animals, but by helping animals maybe. Not by stealing, but by, say, being truthful, being faithful, and not lying, but being truthful. So likewise, he is now changing his behavior. So we need to promote it. So at that time, if we say, okay, non-self is there, so it's, not appropriate. So we need to first establish ourselves in the correct path. Then only Buddha say, okay, now you can get into the supramundane type of Sammaditthi. Anasava, Ariya, Anasava, Lokuttara, Magganga. So now you can further develop wisdom. So that is what we were discussing in the Vipassana particularly. So it is also an evolving quality. The Sammaditthi also an evolving quality. Say he mentioned, okay, in this person who is now somewhat aiming at liberation, aiming at Nibbana, aiming at further understanding, now he further develops wisdom. Panya indriyang, panya balang, dhammavice sambojjhangang, Sammaditthi maggangang. So it's an evolving path. So you first develop the wisdom. Say, that's, as we just mentioned, say you have mindfulness, you have concentration, you are keeping your attention in a balanced way to various phenomena, you are trying to understand their true nature. So this is a development of wisdom, not by looking at a book. Looking at the book is also another part of wisdom. That is Sutame Jnana. So you read the books, you listen to Dhamma, that is also understanding, that is also more convincing. And asking you to have your own experience now. Have you self taste in the Dhamma by yourself. Encouraging you for the direct experience. Now we are talking into that in Vipassana, where you are trying to taste the apple. Not talking about the apple and not writing poems about the apple, but trying to taste the apple. Now in that path, so the Panya has various levels. So even understanding, say if you practice Kayanupassana, even understanding for elements, their characteristics is one level of wisdom. Understanding their conditioned nature, another level of wisdom. Understanding their impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, non-self is another level of wisdom. And based on that, maybe you have a certain amount of detachment, relinquishment, it's another level of wisdom. So likewise, it's a growing wisdom that we are talking here. And now as we move forward, there you may arrive that non-grasping state of mind. Still may be temporary, but you can stay there for a while, dwell there for a while, not only while sitting, but even while walking. Now you are maintaining a non-grasping state of mind. There probably, now we can talk about non-self deeply. And we need to recognize where a self is. Now we understood through Kayanupassana in this bodily phenomena, we can't have a self. Feelings can't have a self. It doesn't belong to me, it doesn't obey my orders. and they have their own reasons to come up and pass away. And through experience, you understand the non-self behavior, non-self characteristic. Now, as a result of that, now you can easily relinquish things. So mind prefers unattached, freed state rather than associating maybe the form, associating the feeling, associating the perceptions, associating thinking, associating any kind of established consciousness. So slowly, mind may switch to the other side. Okay, I like to be secluded, I like to be freed, I like to be in a calm, relaxed state rather than in a burdened, grasped, hindered kind of state. A kind of a change has happened in the mind. Automatically there's a tendency towards the other side now. Now, probably we may experience whenever ego comes up, again kind of a burdened mind happen. Whenever sense of I is there, again you might feel little uneasy. Whenever a self comes out, you may have to protect it, you may feel burdened, you may feel hindered. Some suffering is there. As we discussed, for that to happen, grasping has to happen. Whenever grasping is there, there's a possibility for the self to arise again, sense of I to arise again, and you start suffering. You become somewhat vulnerable. You become somewhat unsteady, unstable. So you may understand, okay, this is suffering actually. So I can now maintain ditte dittamattang. So when seeing, okay, just seeing is there. When hearing, hear is there. Smelling, tasting, touching, only that. And when thought come, we let it be. But now Buddha emphasized non-self afterward. So when you are able to maintain this kind of a state of mind, okay, you are neither there nor here, not in between. So you are not trying to make a self at the outside. Say you are seeing something and it is beautiful, it is attractive, probably you being shifted to there. So you become that. Then you are there. But now you are not trying to do it. Avoid doing that. So you are not allowing your mind to go and shifted and attracted and be and dwell and make a self there. On the other hand, you can create a self here. I am the one seeing it. I am the one who first saw it. I am the one took the first picture. I am the one published it in the web. So you are claiming, I am the one who saw it. So here you are making a self at the I side. Say you heard news. So you are the one who first heard it. So you are happy about it. You are highlighting yourself. I am the first who heard it. I am the one told to you. You were not aware of that. I am the one mentioned it. So you become a listener, isn't it? It's not mere hearing, but you become a listener. As a person in the listening process, you create a listener in this side, in the ear side. So likewise, so all the different faculties when they are operating, either we can create a self at the outside faculty, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles and the thoughts, by attracted to them, being repelled to them, so we can create a self at that end, or we can create a self at this end. So Buddha said, neither there nor here even. So don't make a self even here, not in between. So kind of an emphasis is there to minimize this I-making, mind-making. Even highlighted in the Bahya Sutta. So avoid making a self now. So don't have any kind of a personality promoted thoughts highlighted. So you can continue your life, you can continue various tasks, but afterwards don't encourage thoughts promoting a self. That's the old habit. So we were doing that. So I was doing something and I am the one who became the first in the class, and I was thinking about it, I am proud about it, and I am maybe walking 1 feet above because I am proud, conceited. But now I understood it's foolish. No point. There's no person to be highlighted, no self to be highlighted. So now you are trying to develop that path. So there Buddha highlights Chaga Manubruheya. So various upadis are there, various acquisitions are there for us to create a self, and now you are trying to minimize that. You may have various possessions, but you are careful not to use any of these possessions, any of these acquisitions to create a self. So giving up that is the best kind of a gift. If you can give up something, so that is the best kind of a gift. Sabbupati Patinissango. So whatever the different kinds of acquisitions you are using to create a self, now you are giving them up. You are not using any of those, maybe external, internal. Say external in the sense maybe your possessions, your house, your car, your children, your husband, your say designation, your titles, your degrees, all we were using to create a self, but you are now not using them to create a self. And internally, you may have certain skills, your good qualities, your talents, all that we were using to create a self, but now not trying to use them to create a self. So Chagamanubruhe. So you are giving up them. Whenever the mind promotes any kind of a self-view, you are giving up that. Not doing it. Chagamanubruheya. Santimeva so sikkheya. The last one. Buddha say, as much as possible, leave all the defilements. Purify the mind. Keep the mind peaceful. Don't allow it to burn again. There may be lustful thoughts. Don't burn again. Leave them away. There may be anger. So you leave them aside. Don't burn back. Maybe jealousy, maybe any kind of miserliness, any kind of a defilement. So don't go to burn yourself. Santimeva so sikkheya. Various defilements are there. Subtle defilements are there. Now you are capable of understanding all these subtle defilements. So don't allow yourself to burn with any of these defilements. So basically, Buddha helping us to clear the path in a way in this Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta, very beautifully he presents it. So one side is the development of the wisdom. As a result of that, you are able to arrive the non-grasping state of mind. That is the kind of a temporary nibbana that we may currently available. And we need to register there. We need to properly stay there, dwell there as much as possible. And you need to grow there. And then while being there, see if there is any kind of eye-making, mind-making happens. And if when they are happening, drop it. And on the other hand, while being there, you can even recognize various defilements again and again popping up. Maybe promoting any kind of burning in the mind, burdening in the mind. Again mind get lustful, again mind become greedy, again mind become thought of kind of burning because of ill will, etc., etc. So you recognize these subtle defilements and now fade them away, allow them to go, don't promote that. As much as possible, keep the mind peaceful, keep the mind pure. So this is the 4 foundations he's asking us to very much based upon as Vipassana yogis. Chatura ditthano ayam bhikkhu puriso. So these are the 4 foundations. These are the 4 determinations. These are the very much like the 4 pillars on which we are developing. And while there, now he further encourage asmiti bhikkave manyitametang ayang ahang asmiti manyitametang bhavissanti manyitametang na bhavissanti manyitametang, as we discussed even some time back. So in case any kind of a conceiving happens, any kind of a manyana happens, any kind of a imagination happen, I am here, I am that, I am this. So very subtle level of I making, mind making, comparing with myself with another person, comparing the past, the future, and making a self. So all that which are related to the conceit, the kasal, the very subtle asmimana. So all that now you need to slowly abandon. he further emphasized Manyitam Bhikkave Rogo, Manyitang Sallang, Manyitang Gando, Manyitang Sallang. Conceiving Bhikkhu, this Manyana, any kind of imaginations, eye making, all that is a disease, is a tumor, is a Sallang. What's the dart? Sabba Manyitanant Veva Bhikkhu Samatikkamo Munisantoti Uchati. So when there are no conceiving at all, when there are no any kind of imaginations, any of these subtle defilements are all not present, then only you can say you are a peaceful Muni. So yattatitam manyussava nappavatanti. Manyussave kopana appavatamane munisantoti uchati. So you use those previously mentioned 4 foundations as the, the pedestal, as your foundation, as your stage. While there, see whether any kind of a conceiving happens, any kind of imagination happen, any kind of eye making, mind making, all that happen. So if they are happening, you are not a peaceful Muni, you are not a sage. But the moment that none of them are happening, no eye making, no mind making, no such kind of self-referencing, appropriation, none of those are happening, then you are a peaceful Muni, peaceful sage. Muni Santoti Uchati. So this is a kind of a direction that he is pointing out in this Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. And fair emphasis is given there also for non-proliferation. Now, suppose that one has continued that, and as a result of that, one become an Arahant. So, now, what is his experience? Now, that is the explanation given by Venerable Sona. We just touched that. Now, actually, Venerable Sona's story is also a very beautiful one. And he was a very effortful monk. He was trying hard. Walking path even was with blood. To that much he was practicing the walking. And she was really ardent practitioner. But couldn't achieve anything. In the sense, couldn't achieve any Maggapala. So what he was thinking, okay, I had so many friends, my friends were there, all are fairly accomplished now. They were able to achieve their goal, but I couldn't. So I better disrobe, give up. And he was thinking like this. And then Buddha has noticed him, and he quickly appeared in front of him. And he is asking, do you have a thought like this? Yes, Bhante. So, no point of hiding, and he revealed, yes, I have this kind of a thought of disrobing. And then Buddha give a very beautiful simile here, and he is asking, are you familiar with playing a lute? Say in today's terms, maybe a violin or guitar or something. So now he's actually a fortunate person, a rich person who has become a monk, and he used to do that. And he says, yes, Bhante, I was practicing that. I can easily play a lute. And then Buddha is asking, so how are you tuning it? When you stretch the strings too much, will they produce the correct sound? Will they produce the correct tone? No. When they are too loose, will they produce the correct tone? Still no. Then so now, how are you going to do it? It has to be with the correct proportion. Then only it will produce the correct tone. So that's how you are tuning the whatever, the guitar or violin or lute or whatever. So you need to properly tune it. Then only it will produce the correct tone. Same thing so on here. Here also, if you are putting too much effort, you are into that side. It can lead to restlessness of the mind. Atipaggahitang viriyang uddachanu patitam. Samadhisa paripanto. If you put too much effort, it can lead to restlessness of the mind. But on the other hand, if you are not using enough effort, it can lead to laziness. Now, Sona, you need to balance. Now you are putting too much effort. You need to understand that. You need to have the Indriya Samatha, the middle, the coming to the balance, well balance of your faculties. And Buddha has mentioned this, and then he left, and Sona, Venerable Sona understood it, he practiced, and he became an Arhat. Now he went back to the Buddha, he is telling his experience as a Dhamma sermon to the Buddha. So there he is taking this example, Evang samma vimutta chittassa bhante bhikkhuno, busa chepi chakku viññaya rupa. Bhante, now this completely liberated person, this Arahant, and he may go through many different kinds of visual objects. Chakkusa apatang agachanti. And to his eye, all that come and, strike. Nevassa chittam pariyadyanti. But his mind not get agitated, not being overwhelmed by what he has seen. The eye can visualize everything, all that, whatever the visual objects are being coming to his eye. But the mind is unagitated. Nevassa chittam pariyadyanti. The mind does not torment through what he has seen. Amissi katamevassa chittang hoti. So the mind remains without mixing with any of that. Titang, mind stable, still. Anenjappattang, completely not wavering. Vayanchassanu passati. So all these incoming, whatever the visual objects he sees, they are coming and going, but mind remains calm. So he repeats the same thing for sounds, he repeats the same thing for smells, taste, tangibles, he repeats. So the important thing is, he is not closing his eyes, he can see, he can hear, all that is there, but mind doesn't want to get mixed, doesn't want to get involved, but mind is capable of keeping unattached, uninvolved, very steady, still. So he is giving a very beautiful verse here. Selo yatha eka gano vatena na samirati evang rupa rasa saddha gandha phassa cha kevala ittha dhamma anittha cha nappa vedhinti tadino titan chittang vippamuttang vayanchassanu passati. Selo yatha eka gano vatena na samirati. So assume there is a solid rock, and to that rock there may be various winds coming from many different directions. They may be really, powerful winds. Vatena na samirati. But this solid rock does not shock, does not move, does not waver. Evang rupa rasa saddha gandha passacha kevala. So as like that, so different sights, different sounds, smells, tastes might come to the different faculties. Those could be ittha dhamma anittha. Those could be agreeable, those could be disagreeable. In the sense, those may be beautiful, those may be ugly, or disagreeable ones. Both sides are there. Ittha dhamma anittha nappa vedhinti tadino. So this Thadi, the Arahant, so he is not being wavered, he is not being, agitated by any of these. Titan chittang vippamuttang vayanchassanu passati. So mind remains still, mind remains stable, vippamuttang free from any defilements, vayanchassanu passati. All these different phenomena he see come and go. Simply they are impermanent, they have the nature to pass away. So we can see he is experiencing all that, he is living in the world, but no any agitation because of the sense impingements. Any kind of a sensual data does not cause any kind of agitation in his mind. So very much like he is dwelling in this calmness, what we were discussing, almost like every time. Even though he may experience certain very hardships, still he is capable of doing that. So that's the beauty in a way. So it doesn't mean that he may not go through ever any kind of a suffering and any kind of bodily sickness. There are arahants, including the Buddha, who has gone through utter suffering, but they were able to avoid any kind of mental suffering. So mind is fairly uninvolved. Mind is completely free from any defilements, any kind of an agitation, even though body is sick. So therefore, even if we are able to achieve the best of everything, the body may suffer. The body still may have some sort of a friction. That is actually highlighted in the Chula Sunyata Sutta. Buddha mentioned, okay, you may be arriving the best form of emptiness, while there are no any friction coming from the lust, hatred, delusion. All the kamasava, bhavasava, avijjasava, all are gone. So no friction coming through any of the defilements. But still you are not empty of any kind of a friction coming because of this living body. It is there. You can't stop that. So basically we need to clear off these kinds of teachings. So if we are able to particularly maintain the mind free from proliferation, recognizing how these proliferations are happening, knowing their danger, and promoting non-proliferation, as much as possible keeping the mind as here we discuss according to the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta, developing further wisdom, maintaining unattached state of mind, abandoning any kind of self sense of I, creation of I, abandoning that, then keeping the mind very pure, free from any defilements. Then we may be able to achieve what we want. Okay, with that I will conclude today's Dhamma sermon and this series of Dhamma sermon. Thank you very much for attentive listening.